Hi and welcome. Here's a really fun little way that you can jam. I'm just going to play it, have a listen, see what you think, and then learn it, okay? Okay, what am I doing now? Basically, all I'm doing is noodling around, okay? Which is something a lot of guitarists would love to do, where you can just play some simple chords and do them in fun ways, you know? They're just G chords, E minor, C, D. But, you know, it's kind of boring just strumming chords over and over like that, unless you're doing some cool sort of like pick strumming or percussive strumming. You know, that sort of stuff, which I teach on the channel elsewhere. Okay, you can have a look through all my videos if you enjoy this sort of thing. But it's really good just to be able to noodle, I find. Find a chord, get creative with it, see what little melodies are there within the chord. You know, with the G, we was doing this. Okay, adding a little bit of melody. And I was literally just plucking that third fret low E, open G, open B. And then I was improvising, but I'm going to show you what I was doing. And it was basically this. Okay, so got the first bit of the pattern, this. And that is third fret low E, open G, open B. Second bit, third fret low E again, open B, open G, D, back to the G, and then the melody at the end, which is open B, third fret, hammer on to open high E. So that sounds like a lot of notes, but break it up into three parts. Part one, third fret low E, open G, open B. Part two, a little bit of picking in the chord, which is third fret low E, B, G, D, G, or string 6, 2, 3, 4, 3. The first part, second part, and then the third part, the hammer on from open to 3 on the B string, open high E. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay, and all together. And then we go to the E minor, do the same idea. Then to the C, the same idea. D. I like to do a bit more on the high E string on the D chord because you haven't really got room on the B string to do as much, but you can on the high E. So you can take all those little ideas there with that one main idea on the G chord. Experiment with that, get really good at it. So I broke it up into three parts there and then smooth it out. And then you switch it to the E minor. And like I say, it's exactly the same idea. Have to use your pinky for the third fret hammer on that B string. But then you can use that as a template, and it's just so much more interesting than going, you know, not saying that you do that, but a lot of people get taught to do that. And it's kind of like, well, how do I have fun? This sort of stuff is hard at first because you think, crikey, Dan, there's a lot of notes there, man. That's too much. But you know what? You just break it down. That's what I keep saying, always and always break it down. Yeah, 3 notes, you could do that. Then you could do the next bunch of notes. Yeah, that's simple. You're not really actually doing much. Just get the rhythm right. And then the hammer on. We need to work on the hammer on its own. And you can do that as well. And if you can do all 3 parts on their own, which sound disjointed, but that's the way to practice it. Probably even slower than that, you know, well, almost certainly slower than that. But if you can do all that slowly, then you can put it all together. And if you can do it on one chord, you can do it on all the other chords. after that, you can vary it, okay? But you've got to go stages. First part, pick the G chord, do the 3 parts on the G chord, slowly. Get that solidified for a day or so. Then the next part, smooth out that G chord so it sounds cool. Then practice it on the E chord, or E minor I should say, and break it down into chunks again. And then build it up. And then do the same on the C chord, then the D chord. Don't try and do all this in one day unless you've been playing for a while and you're really comfortable with these ideas. If you're not comfortable with these ideas, it can quickly fall apart and you can think, crikey, that's too hard, I'm not good enough. Which is what I used to think as well. But I realised many, many years ago when I first started teaching in person, that if you just break everything down, everything is doable. The only time it isn't doable is when technical issues like big stretches get in the way, where you're struggling to do something like this. It's a bit of a classical piece, part 2 of Romanza, a little bit there. And there's a big stretch there. It's really tough because you've got to have index on the 1st fret of the G string. You've got an open B, so you've got to be on the tip of that finger. Then the pinky's got to play 4th fret, the high. Stuff like that, I found students physically couldn't play it. So what I would do is get them to play it with a capo, where the stretch isn't as big. And that makes it a lot easier. And you could try that idea with this G, E minor, C, D chord progression with a capo if you want to, if there's any issues with stretching. Okay, you can practice it like that. Like I say, once you get good at each chord on its own, you put it all together. When you get good at that, you vary it and start just trying to hammer on to different strings and different notes. But it's all about having fun, and that's what it should be. But practicing should be fun. Don't try and get to the end goal straight away, because if you do that, it's very difficult. But if you just take your time, practice it all in little chunks, stages, build it up, build your confidence, make sure it's rock solid before you move on. The next day, solidify what you did the previous day. And then if you feel ready, move on. But I would say 9 out of 10 students tend to want to rush. You do get the odd 1 in every 10 who is very patient, and sometimes too patient, and they don't move on soon enough, but that's very rare. So chances are most people watching this, yourself, it's probably going to be the one that wants to rush, that you get excited. And I know exactly that feeling. It's a really good feeling. But just take your time and just jam it along with me, okay? Bit of a loud strum there at one point. But if you enjoy this sort of stuff, check out my book, Fingerstyle 101, okay? Go to fingerstyle101.com/book. And I talk all about the finger picking method, playing with good technique. This is the way I sit with classical posture. It just makes things a lot easier, okay? That's the way I teach, so it's the way I play. It's just so much better for beginners or those struggling with technical issues. And to be honest, I find when I do like the big stretches like I talked about earlier, it's so much easier doing it this way than this way. When I'm like this, I'm more like, it's really difficult. There's a lot of strain on my wrist. Like this, it's so much more effortless. So the book is in 3 parts, okay? Part 1 teaches you all about technique. Part 2 is all about the beautiful patterns. Part 3 is about developing to the next level. The sort of ideas we've touched on here. So if you enjoyed that, have a lot of fun with the book. You'll enjoy it, okay? And thank you so much for watching. If you want more videos from me, check out this here. All right, thanks. Cheers, bye.